It's been a minute since I've done one of these videos. I think the last Criminality series episode that I did was like June, July 2024. It's literally January, almost February 2026. That is crazy. I'm tripping. This is on Rabih Alkhalil. I'm gonna keep this as comprehensive and as short as I possibly can within 10 minutes. So imagine the classic gangster biopic, but set between Surrey, BC and old Montreal with encrypted chats, cartel cocaine routes, revenge hits, and a prison break that's worthy of an action movie. This is the story of Rabih Alkhalil, a man whose name became synonymous with organized crime across the whole Canada. Now, Rabih was a Canadian gangster of Lebanese Arab descent with a reputation for violence, smuggling, and close ties to major crime networks. He didn't start as a made man in some cozy mafia family. He built his reputation in the gritty underbelly of Western Canada's gang wars. He was part of the Alkhalil crime family, a network deeply involved in trafficking and gang feuds that spanned BC, Ontario, and Quebec. These are actually his two brothers pictured beside him who actually died before he really got like his footing for real into the organized crime world in Canada. And the early turf, it spanned Surrey, pictured behind me, and just BC gangland in general. You know, his criminal life was rooted in British Columbia's lower mainland, especially around Surrey. And of course, you know, the world famous city of Vancouver, which was a crazy hotbed of gang rivalry in the 2000s and 2010s. Now, in the 2010s, BC was locked in a bloody gang war, which involved, you had the Wolfpack Alliance, which, if I'm not mistaken, was led by Larry Amaro, who is pictured right here, who was a heavy hitter within Hell's Angels, which if you're familiar with Canadian, you know, criminal world, they run shit up there. Like, the bikers run a lot of shit up there. And you know, the war also was between, it also included the Red Scorpions, which I've covered in a prior video a while back. You know, the Bacon brothers, their story is insane. Then you also have the Dak Dure faction. This guy, his murder was a major catalyst in this turf war in BC. Now, Rabih was deeply entrenched in this conflict, part hustler, part strategist, and part executioner. Now, the Wolfpack Alliance, which was the power syndicate, if you include this into the story, he didn't rise alone. He became a key leader within the Wolfpack Alliance, a modern organized crime syndicate that tossed the old school codes out of the window in favor of encrypted messaging, international drug networks, and high stakes deals. So his cats had Larry Amaro, who, if I'm not mistaken, I referenced earlier, this guy right here on the left, Hell's Angels heavyweight. You had Jonathan Bacon and his brothers as well, the head of the Red Scorpions. You had Nick Nero, the smuggler based in Toronto. And you had Rabih, of course, who was the wild card strategist. Now, their goal was simple, if morally bankrupt: control major Canadian drug routes and get rich doing it. Montreal, with its port and highway links to New York's gigantic drug market, became a key target. So in Montreal, you know, which was the luxurious base, instead of hiding in gray back alleys, he rented a penthouse condo in old Montreal with a sweeping view of the St. Lawrence River. He lived there with Larry Amaro for a time. They weren't just roommates, they were partners in crime, literally. While, you know, Larry, he brought the biker gang credibility via the Hells Angels, which I told you they run shit up there. Rabih brought connections and swagger, and together they tried to monopolize the cocaine distribution, reportedly smuggling hundreds of kilograms per month from Mexico via encrypted communications and lockdown logistics. He even opened a high-end clothing boutique in Montreal, you know, a cover, a status symbol, or maybe just his pride. So with the major crimes, you have Johnny Raposo in Toronto, circa 2012. Rabih and Wolfpack partners, they planned a cocaine deal split worth millions. When one partner allegedly talked too much and threatened profits, he allegedly arranged a hit at a cafe in Toronto's Little Italy. This guy right here is Johnny Raposo. He was literally gunned down at that cafe while watching a soccer game. You have Sandeep Dippy Dure, hit in Vancouver, 2012. One of the most brazen gang hits in the history of Canada. He was gunned down in the lobby of Vancouver's Sheraton Wall Center. Shooting was public, and it tied back to Wolfpack leadership. This was the hitman of that hit. His name was Dean Wichar. He's a fucking psychopath. Like, if you read the story of him, he's a psychopath. Now, in both murders, prosecutors said Rabih and his associates, they hired hitman to make it happen, and by 2017, a jury in Canada, the Crown, they agreed enough to convict him of murder and conspiracy. So by around 2017, Rabih was already serving life in prison for the Raposo murder with a 25-year no parole period. You fast forward to July 21st, 2022. While on trial for Sandeep Dure's murder in Port Coquitlam, BC, Rabih escaped a pretrial detention center. Two men in construction gear. They showed up, used a torch to breach a secure area, walked him out in broad daylight. No, seriously, like they walked him out like he was stealing like lunch from a fucking corner store. Like Canada's BOLO program, they put him on, it's 25 most wanted fugitive list with upwards of $250,000 for a reward for tips. Interpol even took, they issued a red notice. Then that man was on the run. Then he was on the run. So it was a run that spanned multiple continents. After the escape, he became an international fugitive. Rumors had him dodging law enforcement across borders, switching passports, and using aliases like Philip Betancourt Furtado. And then in September 2025, authorities arrested him in Qatar under an alias after a 3-year pursuit by the Crown and international partners. And then now starts the long dance of extradition paperwork, legal wrangling, and whether Rabih ever sets foot again on Canadian soil. Now back to the Amaro connection, where these guys like brothers, partners in crime. Larry Amaro wasn't just a roommate in Montreal. He was his right hand, Rabih's right hand, consigliere in a hoodie. Their relationship represented a strategic alliance between biker culture and multinational organized crime. And Amaro's role, Hells Angels cadre, Wolfpack co-leader, alleged co-conspirator in the major hits, sentenced to decades behind bars for conspiracy to murder. Together, they blurred gangs and cartels, encrypted messages and brutal violence, fashion boutiques and high-stakes smuggling. It was equal parts boardroom and battlefield. So the final notes on Rabih Alkhalil's saga is more than crime news. It's a portrait of how organized crime in Canada evolved. From the street crews all the way in Surrey to transcontinental cartel deals to the violent turf wars in Vancouver to luxurious penthouses in Montreal to a globe-spanning manhunt with Interpol alerts. It's frankly a tragic story, a wild one, and a cautionary tale about how chaos and ambition can collide. So yeah, in short, that's my return with a Criminality series. I'm gonna come back with I think I'm gonna do Ryan Wedding. I think I'm gonna cover Ryan Wedding. That's the story right now. And I'll be back with you guys. I should upload this to both X and TikTok. So yeah. Follow me on X and TikTok. That's at 404 Lord.